Hello everyone, my name is Charlotte Hu. I am a sophomore at Saratoga High School. Here's a question for you. Where do you see yourself in the next 10 years? I'll give you some time to think about it. Now, that's a pretty difficult question to answer given the time. And as a teenager, I don't even know what I want for lunch tomorrow, let alone what I want to do for the rest of my life. And for as long as I remember, I have tried many ways to define myself in hopes of setting myself to pursue some interest in which I wasn't even interested in. My motivation revolved more around the results than the process. I just thought, oh, I'm gonna do something cool and get good, and that will somehow take me to success. But that was not the case. Here's the story. So, my school has a fantastic music program in which more than 50% of the students I think are involved in and somewhat successful. And because other people were doing it, I was like, I should do it too, right? At one point in my life, I revolved everything around music. I joined winter percussion, concert band, marching band, to play percussion and oboe. I spent my free periods, breaks, lunch, and hours after school just practicing. And all I ever talked about with my friends was percussion back then. I truly believed I wanted to become a musician. I believed I was going to get my music degree in percussion at Berkeley. I thought I was going to do this for the rest of my life. But to be honest, I never really enjoyed what I was doing. I had plans and dreams of grandeur, but I knew I could not continue doing music when I came into rehearsal telling myself I hated it. And when I realized I didn't want to become a musician, I was pretty lost and disappointed. It was a classic case of putting all your eggs in one basket. And it's a gamble because no matter how hard I try, ultimately, the outcome is not guaranteed, and sometimes you just lose all the eggs, which was what happened with percussion. Despite the hours and sacrifices I had to make for music, I just didn't enjoy it as much as I thought I did. And because of that, I wandered around trying to find something that I can be a part of, something that I can be good at, my life purpose. So I began focusing on medicine. I took pre-med courses over the summer and volunteered at clinics. I told my Mom, I want to be a doctor. And my mom was kind of confused. She was like, what? I think it's a bit early to decide. Why don't you do art? You've always enjoyed doing art. But I was like, nah. I didn't listen at the time, but my mother was absolutely correct about that. I tried my best to enjoy chemistry and biology courses that are needed for pre-med, but it just wasn't working out. I didn't understand a dang thing, and I struggled to keep a B in that class. Realizing the difficult and narrow path medicine had in mind for me, after learning I couldn't force myself into that field, frightened me. I didn't want to back myself into a corner again. And besides, I'm only 16. It's okay if I don't have my entire life planned out. But I know that I want to do something that I enjoy, and that something is art. Although I am not the best artist, that didn't stop me. I started taking art and design classes, and so far I really love it. I can see that I improved in my technique and composition with lots of practice, in which I eventually gained knowledge in which I could apply to other fields like writing, photography, and even mathematics. Furthermore, in Saratoga, I see so many young people, so certain of what they want to do, narrowing it and restricting it to one path, with no room for mistakes for other options. I often hear my peers being forced or heavily advised to pursue a career or class by their family or peer pressure. It's like, if you do anything outside of this rubric, you are automatically a failure, and you will end up on the streets. This is an incredibly unhealthy mindset that is pervasive in the Bay Area, which mostly can be seen in households of immigrant parents that want the best for their children. And because of this, I often see parents mapping out their children's lives like it's a calendar. However, it's not guaranteed that we get what we want or that we are able to fulfill those requirements. Frankly, I don't think it's worth the trouble to force someone to do something that they don't enjoy. I know people who have been convinced to pursue economics, law, and medicine in their careers, but they ended up dropping and switching to something else because it made them miserable. I am a firm believer of YOLO. You only live once. You only live once, so don't restrict yourself from doing the things you want to do. Because that's what makes life interesting. As the archaeologist said to the famous American author, Kurt Vonnegut, I don't think being good at things is the point of doing them. I think you've got all these wonderful experiences with different skills, and that all teaches you things and makes you an interesting person, no matter how well you do them. Fun fact, I would have never been on the stage giving you this talk if I continued doing music. I would have never came to Saratoga High School if I wasn't rejected from the other high schools I applied to. It's a miracle to see where I stand today because of taking those chances and opportunities. And most importantly, because of my parents. My parents are both immigrants from Taiwan. My dad was a farm boy and my mother was raised in the city. They had the dream to go to a school in the United States for education and the choice to pursue what they want. During university, my father went into architecture, but he switched his major and ended up going into computer science and design. While my mother, she was a bright student who excelled in chemistry and physics, and she planned to become a hydraulic engineer. But she ended up doing nothing related to her major. When I came into the scene with me in the picture, my parents had to adapt, making a lot of sacrifices for me. To spend time with me when I was an infant, my father would go to school during the day and my mother would go to school at night, and they would switch turns taking care of me. After school, my mother became a stay-at-home housewife until she decided to go into the field of kitchen business out of her passion for cooking and baking. She started her company and wrote several books, and that was it for 7 years until she decided that wasn't for her. She then switched to the tech industry, now an investor and entrepreneur who has held conferences with senators and thousands of people. I relate to my parents a lot, especially my mother. Let me tell you, she is a fantastic woman. She's a leader, influencer, author, investor, and too many to list. Truly, she is my role model, and in many ways, we are very similar. I too have many interests, doing a little bit of everything, often switching fields. But most importantly, we dream big and pursue what we want, and that motivates us to make the change that we want to see in this world. My parents went through a journey, and so am I and everyone else. It's hard to predict where you are after 10 years, or what to do for the rest of your life. And your life isn't over when you've made a mistake or when something doesn't work out. It's not all lose-lose. As Taylor Swift said at her graduation speech, every time you lose something, you gain something. For every closed door, there is another opportunity waiting for you. Life shouldn't be a checklist, but an experience. And every one of those experiences are unique to you out of 8 billion people in this world. So let's live life to its fullest every day and cherish the experiences that we have. Thank you.